Hey friends, Steve Guttenberg here. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, and this is the Grado HEMP headphone. Maybe they should have called it the hemp phone. Well, headphone, hemp phone, whatever. It's good. It's really good. Well, first of all, it's a Grado. And, you know, I admit Grado can be somewhat of a polarizing brand. You know, you love it or hate it kind of thing. This may be one that could woo some naysayers about Grado to the Grado team. So the Grado hemp headphone, what are we talking about here? Okay, so this composite is hemp, fibers, and maple wood that are compressed into a wood-like formation. And it's pretty cool. I think it looks amazing. It's an open back headphone like all Grado headphones have been since the late 1980s when they started making headphones. When they started making headphones, its impedance is 38 ohms. It's very light. Now, Grado is not big on specifications, so I can't tell you how light it is, but I'm guessing it's 6 or 7 ounces. So it's much lighter than the average audiophile-oriented headphone. The headband is made of real leather. Now the ear pads are these flat ones. I think they call them the F style. But whatever it is, I like these. These is what they started with, more or less. All early Grados had flat ear pads. And then they started making these bowl-shaped ones. And they held the headphone a little further away from your ear. Maybe it was a little more open sounding. I like the flat pads. They just sound better to me. I think they're tonally a little smoother sounding. The bass is enhanced by getting the earpiece closer to your ear. Whatever's going on, I dig it. I like the flat ear pad sound. I think I said impedance is 38 ohms. Now the sensitivity is really high. Again, they don't give you a specification, but even compared to my old Grado RS1s, this headphone is far more sensitive than the RS1. It was actually more sensitive than any other headphone I compared it to in this test. And I compared it to the RS1, I compared it to the Mass Drop Sennheiser HD6XX, compared it to the Audeze LCD1, and the Hifiman Sundara. So it was a pretty interesting group of headphones to run through for this test. You know, I don't know, I think I spelled this out. The headphone is made in Brooklyn, handcrafted in Brooklyn, where all Grado products, cartridges and headphones have been made since, well, for eons now it seems. And with that Brooklyn theme, I decided to use a Mytek Brooklyn DAC Plus headphone amp / DAC for pretty much all of my testing for this review. The Mytek isn't made in Brooklyn, although the company is based in Brooklyn, in case you were wondering. I got you covered there. Right? The price, you're asking, you're thinking, Steve, get to the price already? It's $420. Not bad for a handmade headphone in the USA. So I started my listening sessions in earnest with this record by Akale Wobi. Now, I'm sure I'm mangling his name, but it's an African group, and they played this groove, this solid groove, saxes, bass, drums, keyboards, and I was digging it. You know, it was one of those love at first hearing kind of sound. I was into this headphone from the first second. The groove, this music is all about the groove, and those saxes just had this kind of sound to them, right up close. Now that's the thing about Grado's headphones. The sound was immediate, close, and shall we say, intimate. The first headphone I grabbed for a comparison was the Audeze LCD1. Now that's an open back planar magnetic headphone. And the first thing that I noticed was that the sound was much more tonally recessed, very kind of thinnish mid-range, which kind of surprised me. And the bass, which is usually a strength of planars, well, the Grado just had more growl on that bottom end on this Akale Wobi record. I just dug it. Something was going on here, and I didn't know exactly how to pin it down, but I knew that the contest, well, round one was definitely going to the Grado. Next up was another planar magnetic the Hifiman Sundara open back, full-size planar magnetic headphone. That headphone had a much smoother tonal balance, smoother than the Audeze, smoother than the Grado. Really, really nice. Very balanced, good bass, solid bass. Now the Grado was more dynamically alive and just had more jump factor than the Hifiman or the Audeze. So I think what's going on here is I think the Grado has a sound that, well, it reminds me of Klipsch speakers, of a horn speaker sound. It just has that dynamic contrast, that live sound, that immediacy that I associate with Klipsch's is coming through over this Grado. Well, most Grados actually, right? It just has that immediacy, that jump factor, that live, this is happening now type sound. That was really impressive. So when I went back to the hemp phone, or the hemp headphone, from the Sundara, the music just lit up. So then I popped on the Sennheiser HD6XX. Now that headphone has a much warmer mid-range. That's, yeah, it's just richer, warmer, sweeter in the mids. Not so happening on the bottom. Very relaxed top end, certainly compared to the Grado. So it was pleasant, but it was definitely nowhere as exciting as the Grado. At this point, I changed the music and I started listening to Aphex Twin's computer-controlled acoustic something or other. And it's basically sampled acoustic instruments. And it's a great recording. And it's really, really open-sounding recording. And on the Sennheiser, that openness was definitely apparent. But when I switched over to the hemp phone, or the hemp headphone, it was even better. It was even more. But that jump factor, because the Sennheiser is kind of sleepy in its overall presentation, certainly by comparison. Switching over to the hemp headphone, it lit up. The sound, the dynamics, the high end, had more sparkle. It is a bright headphone. I don't want to sidestep that. The Grado is bright, and the Sennheiser is more laid back on the top end, most definitely. I mean, that's the thing about headphones, is they all sound really different from each other. So, you know, you have to find the one that works for you. But I keep circling around the idea that what the Grado is bringing to the party is it may not be the smoothest headphone, it may be not the most polite headphone, the kindest to harsh recordings, but in terms of visceral energy and excitement and that live feeling, yeah, it does that very, very well. The Sundara, continuing with Aphex Twin, the Sundara, that smoothness, that balance that it has is very, very impressive. And bass is really solid. It's an extraordinary headphone. It really, really is. It doesn't have the energy of the Grado. It doesn't have that life. But they're both very attractive choices. Very, very much so. And then I changed music again, and I played the Brian and Roger Eno recording of Late. It's a recent recording. And it's ambient, it's very open, very spacious, but very smooth. It's a very nuanced recording, very delicate, not hyped, certainly in the way that the Aphex Twin record is. And that record, listening to that one over the Grado, that was just flat out gorgeous. Just beautiful, sumptuous even. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous recording. So, I forgot to mention, well, I knew I was screwing up somewhere. I didn't talk about comparing the hemp headphone to the Grado RS1. Now, the Grado RS1, which, as I said earlier, has been one of my references for 15 years, that headphone is actually more like the Sundara. It's warmer, it's smoother, it's flatter in its response. It's a very sophisticated headphone. It's very open, so easy to listen to. It's a great headphone. Now, if you're asking me how the original RS1 compares to the contemporary version, the RS1E, I guess it is, I can't tell you. I've never done the comparison, so I don't know. I can just tell you that the old Grado sound from 15 years ago was just luscious. And this new Grado, it's not as luscious, but it is. I'm starting to sound like a broken record. It's livelier. It's higher energy than the older headphone. So as I played through my collection of all different kinds of music, and actually a lot of electronica for some reason, I was in the mood for that, the hemp headphone makes deep bass. Nothing thick or muddy or bloated about it, but the bass response was really deep, very solid, and just fun. So, you know what? Grado headphones are fun headphones. They just are. They're not stodgy. They're not audiophile oriented, like we're going to resolve every detail and blah, blah, blah. They don't go there. They're just a blast to listen to. That's another thing about, comparing them to horn speakers. They have that quality that they share with horn speakers. I have to tell you an aside. I was at a Chesky recording session a few years ago, and I didn't bring my own headphones for whatever reason, but sitting there, people are listening to playback with headphones. Anyway, I was looking around for a headphone to wear, and I saw these inexpensive Grados. I think they were $225. I put them on my head and I started to listen. Now, mind you, I could hear the actual sound of the band playing and then listen to the playback with these headphones. And the sound of the band playing and the sound that I was getting out of these inexpensive Grados was, wow. In terms of that live sound, I gotta, again, repeat myself, that live sound that I could hear for real just 10 minutes earlier, and I could listen to a playback and say, yes, the Grados are actually doing a great job getting me there. I really like Grado headphones, and I like this one a lot. So there you have it. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. Right now coming to you about 5 days a week. If you've come here a couple of times before, but you haven't yet subscribed, no pressure. No pressure, but please subscribe. Hit that button right over there, and when you do, that button right there, and when you do, you'll see an icon of a bell. You got to hit that bell to be notified every time there's an amazing new episode. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much for doing that. I truly appreciate it. But the next order of business is the Patreon. Check out the Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac. But if you couldn't write that down, no worries. It's in the description right below this video, a link to Patreon. What else? You should check out the playlists while you're here. We got playlists for headphone reviews, lots more headphone reviews, speaker reviews, electronics reviews, music reviews, interviews. So, and then check out the interviews. There's a bunch of interviews I haven't reminded you to watch, but I think the interviews that I've done with Andrew Singer, who owns Sound by Singer in New York City, and David Wasserman, who owns Stereo Exchange in New York City, those are fun. It's funny that Dave Wasserman, who's been in the audio business a lot longer than I have, and he's seen it all. But in this interview that we did, he said, he admitted, although I don't think he's made any bones about it before, that he's not an audiophile. He's never been an audiophile. He doesn't have a great system at home. It's not his thing. He just knows a lot about audio. A lot, because it comes from all those years of experience and dealing with people and doing demos for people. You kind of learn. I think my work here is at last complete. My name's Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. Please come back often, and I think we're good. See you later.